Mani Ratnam's conclusion to the magnum opus Ponniyin Selvan is finally out in the form of PS2, and I got to witness it in the glorious IMAX theater. And what did I think of it? As a matter of fact, I really liked it. I do think it's a little better than the first part. Make sure to go check out my review of that film. Though it is a slightly better film, I wouldn't go as far as to say that it's a superior sequel because, well, it's part of one grand narrative. Where the first film was primarily about world building and introducing these characters, part 2 is much darker and somber than its predecessor. One minor issue I had that very mildly affected my experience of the first part was understanding the extremely complex plot. I had gone into watching part 2, rewatching part 1 just to get a grasp of the characters, their motivations and end goals. And thankfully, I was able to keep track of the plot and the characters for the most part in this film. And the story never fails to engage you, skipping between character to character, making sure you know and understand what each one of them wants. In part 1, the protagonist and antagonist were clear, but here we get more context, and I found myself doubting whose side I'm on, which is great because it's more nuanced when I'm having my perspective challenged. Opening the film with Curry Garland's and Nandini's teenage romance was the perfect way to begin this movie. You root for them and empathize with each of their characters, and to me, it's the strongest emotional conflict. One that isn't so straightforward, one that is complex and messy and traumatic, but also beautifully tragic. Their dynamic is what kept me emotionally engaged the most, which is also why I would consider Vikram's and Aishwarya Rai's performances to be the best among the bunch. They perfectly own the command they have on screen, while also being able to show their vulnerability. Everyone else also delivered solid performances. Karthi and Trisha's dynamic was also splendid. It works because it's unspoken. You really buy their romance from their charming flirtatious advances, especially the blindfold sword scene. Even the sibling relationships between Karigalan, Kundavai and Ponniyin Selvan were believable. There's a scene where all three share the frame, and I just felt happiness, seeing everyone sharing a beautiful moment of bonding. That's where the real magic of these movies lie. Understanding the thought process of a character just through a look they share, realizing what they really desire through a deadlock glance. The eyes communicate everything, and these actors perfectly convey that. The characters feel like real people. No matter if it's the side we empathize with or not, these people make mistakes, so we see them suffer the consequences for their actions. It gives them a sense of three dimensionality. Characters surprise us, show us sides of them that we have never seen, sides that they themselves had suppressed due to the pain they have felt. We can project ourselves onto these kings and warriors. It brings them down to a more human level, making them more relatable. The gorgeous cinematography of the first film also carries on here. There is an ever present golden glow to the film. The lighting, or sometimes the lack of it, gives the film this ominous feel. It knows what we are supposed to look at. And that's thanks to the brilliant staging that Mani Ratnam is a master of. He really gets how to capture the range of emotions that can be conveyed through the human face. Mani Ratnam is in absolute control of his craft. The direction is masterful. There is a real vision to this thing. A.R. Rahman's score only makes the story feel more grand, with his sweeping music that elevates its scale. Even the songs are fantastic. My favorite song would have to be Aga Naga, which highlights the playful romance between Vandiyadevan and Kundavai. The thing that unfortunately stood out like a sore thumb was the action sequences. I had criticized this very point even for the first part, and I was kind of hoping that they would improve it with this film, and I would say that they did, but it did leave me wanting more. Half the time it lacked clarity due to the poor setting up of geography and lots of cuts that seem more like a last ditch effort to hide the heightened nature of the action than to, create a sense of urgency. And when I do understand what is going on, rarely do I ever feel the impact of a punch or a kick or a stab. But it didn't bother me too much because Ponniyin Selvan isn't an action movie. There are no theater erupting sequences where fans are expected to scream and cheer. It can be recognized as a mass film considering the director and the multitude of stars starring in the film. But what Ponniyin Selvan really is about is character dynamics, secret plots, and backstabbing. It's a much more quiet and intimate sequel, and on those fronts, it delivers without question. The film is also bold and daring. It doesn't shy away from killing key characters. Instead, we see it happen and linger on the grief, see how it affects people. Mani Ratnam gets that investment is everything, but he also understands the experiential aspect of the medium. Seeing this film, especially on a large screen, truly felt like an experience, like I'm watching a grand and beautifully complex narrative slowly unfold. Ratnam wants to give you an experience that's your money's worth. He understands that we are giving our time to his film and he makes sure that he respects that time. This film is not perfect. It's overly long, the editing of the action sequences are very jarring, and the plot is so complex that it left me a little lost sometimes, holding it back from being the best version of what it could be. But Ponniyin Selvan Part 2 is easily one of the best movies of the year, a film with real vision, spearheaded by the best people in the business, and I'm really glad I got to witness this in the cinema hall. Thank you guys for watching this video. Do let me know your thoughts on PS1 or PS2 in the comment section below. I would love to discuss this with you. I have not read the book, so I am not entirely familiar with these characters and this world, but I really enjoyed both films and I cannot wait to see what Mani Ratnam does next. So yeah, like, share, subscribe. You know the drill. It would mean so much to me if you would support the channel. And until next time, I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.